Hey, I'm Mathew Georghiou. Let's talk about consulting, free consulting, paid consulting. Maybe you're a consultant, or maybe you're just somebody who has some knowledge and experience and you get asked your advice. And it always comes a point where you might think, well, should I be charging for this? Should I not be charging for this? And I've been consulting for many, many years, and I consult with startups and nonprofits and government agencies and Fortune 500 companies. And this comes up a lot over the years. I've also worked with consultants. I've paid consultants. And something that doesn't quite sit well with me in terms of my own approach to life is when I run into consultants who have a little bit of knowledge that can be helpful to someone, or they could make a simple introduction, simple email introduction, or whatever it may be, and they don't do it because they're not yet engaged, right? They're not yet going to be paid for sharing that bit of knowledge or making that simple introduction. And I can understand some people, wanting to retain that information because maybe that's how they make their living. But, for me, that doesn't quite sit well, especially if you're, actually trying to win somebody's business and you're trying to convince them that you can help them, pay me and I can help you, but yet you're not willing to do anything at all to demonstrate that. I heard a great line once, which is, if you want to prove to someone that you can help them, then help them. Right? It's as simple as that. If you want to prove to someone you can help them, then help them. And maybe later you can talk about some compensation if you were going to continue to help them. Anyway, I don't like to, that's the kind of mantra that I go by. I want to help people. I want to explain this because I think it might help you if you're struggling with this issue as well. So here's how I do it. Other people do it differently. You may decide to do it differently, but hopefully this might help you. So for me, if I have knowledge in my head, or skills, or experience, and all I have to do is tell it to you, and I know it can be helpful to you. That's it. Just tell it to you. Maybe share it in a quick email, quick video, or maybe we're face-to-face and I can tell you a story or give you some advice. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for free. I'm going to do it with no expectations whatsoever because I just want to be helpful. That's just how I'm wired. I don't do it for strategic reasons. That's just the way I'm wired to work. And so at what point, if I'm a consultant who makes my living on consulting, although I make my living in a variety of ways, but that's just one of the ways, at what point do you start thinking about charging someone? And here's where I kind of draw that line, is if I have to do some work in order to give you the information that's going to be helpful to you, right? So if I have to go research something, if I have to go and test something, if I have to go and build something or write something that takes work, then that's when I have to pause and consider whether I need to start exploring the opportunity of, maybe we have to charge for this service. Of course, and I'm talking about, business related stuff. I'm not talking about doing stuff for your friends or volunteer work. I mean, that's easy, right? That's an easy, just do it and be happy to be able to help people. But when it comes to your livelihood and your living, that's where I kind of start to draw the line for me is, again, if it's in my head and I can just tell it to you through my experience and my knowledge, I want to do it. No expectations, no nothing, I'm just going to do it. But if I have to go and work, Google searches, reports, review research, do some coding to test something, whatever it is, then at that point we start to have to consider the economics of moving forward. And of course, what happens after that really depends on the circumstances. It could be a small thing, it could be a small retainer, it could be a small project before it leads to a big project, or you could still decide to do it for free, and you could just articulate to the person you're dealing with that, hey, normally I might charge for this because it requires some work, but I'm willing to do it because I want to be helpful at this stage of the relationship. But anyway, hopefully, my experience might be helpful for you in terms of you coming up with your own strategies for this thing. I'm Mathew Georghiou.